Patty Bennett. Welcome. I blog at pattystamps.com. I'm excited to share with you today. We are going to be talking about the Graceful Glass Vellum from Stampin UP. It's got beautiful printed designs on this pack. I'm going to be showing you some tips for coloring as well as adhering it to your project. So we are going to do that together. If you think of someone that might find this helpful, go ahead and share this video. You can just click the share link. That would be wonderful. You could do that. Or you can tag someone in it also. Just let them know that this might be helpful. We are going to be going over some wonderful tips today. I hope you find them very helpful. We're going to be talking about this Stampin UP Graceful Glass Vellum. And it's already pre-printed. I know when it first came out, there were some questions. People were wondering if it's, if I had to stamp on it or if you have to do the stamping and embossing, but no. As you can see here, it is all printed. So you get 2 each of 12 different designs. They're all printed. And let me just hold one up, and I am not sure if you'll be able to see. I'm just trying to kind of catch it in the light. It not only is it printed, but it actually looks like it was embossed with black ink and clear powder. I think you can kind of tell that it just looks really amazing. And what I like to do is color on the other side and then flip it over, and we'll go over some of those tips, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview. And you know what? Since this is a brand new pack, I think what I'm going to do is give this pack away today. So you need to be watching live to be able to win. So if you would like to comment on this video or share this video, that will give you an entry into a chance to win. So at the end, I will just pick a random winner and announce it and then post it at the top of the video. So if you would like a pack of this gorgeous, amazing vellum, go ahead and leave a comment. You can tell me where you're from, or you can share the video and I will go back through those comments to see who has done that. All right. So hi again, everyone. So glad you're joining me live. I wanted to share a few of the finished samples that I have colored first, and then we'll go into the coloring and the tips for gluing. So I previously shared these when we were talking about that embossed background. I don't know if you remember that video a while back. We did embossing with the embossing mats and the framelit and thinlits, and that made the background. So we kind of already talked about the ones with the square on them, but I have some others to show you. I love this one. There is that one design that has 4 vertical panels like that, which we're going to look at, and I like that design. But my favorites, I think, are the birds and these 2 that look like an actual stained glass window. So some of them look more like a window, some of them look just like a design, and a lot of them actually remind me of, I don't know if you're familiar with the craftsman style houses. There are a lot of them here in California. I know there's several in the Midwest as well, but they have some of these really lovely, like this. They have some designs like this in the front door or the side lights of the front door. So that's kind of what some of these remind me of. On this bird one, it's actually a full 6x6, and I just cut it down to fit onto the card front. And one of the things I'm going to be talking to you about today is the difference when you color and then you put a different color cardstock behind. So on this one, I actually did color around the birds with the light Pool Party Stampin' Blend, and then I put white cardstock behind that so that you see a very light blue, and then I backed it with the cardstock. On these 2, I wanted to really particularly talk about this because, actually, let me switch the order because then you'll be able to see this. So this is the same the same design, and I just colored it really differently. And I chose to color with a different color scheme for both of them. On this one, what I actually did was, do you see where it's all just kind of clear here? I left that uncolored. And for this card, I took a piece of the balmy blue cardstock and I put it underneath. That's how I got that look. So it saved me a lot of time of coloring, but it gave me that beautiful look. So now look at the difference of if you were to just put white behind there. That's equally as beautiful. It's real stunning and it's much more vibrant, but it doesn't give you that look of the blue sky. So that's something that I really wanted to point out to you, and I want to encourage you when you are stamping, coloring with your pre-printed Graceful Glass Vellum, that you look at things like that, at those options. So isn't that fun? Such a difference. Let's see if we can kind of just do half and half here so that you can see. So there's half and half. There's when you have white cardstock behind, and there's when you have balmy blue. Isn't that fun? Now, likewise, when you have got something like this that's all colored, when you put white behind it, it kind of pops the color even more. So on this card, I actually have a white piece, just like this, right behind the colored part, and then it's put onto the Grapefruit Grove card. If you were to put this right onto Grapefruit Grove, like for instance, let's take a piece of Grapefruit Grove, you can see that it just turns the whole thing very orange, which, you know, is fine. You could definitely do that, but it really makes the color pop when you do the white behind it and then you do the Grapefruit Grove. So one thing that you might be thinking is, okay, but you know, I've used vellum before and it's really tricky because I always see all of the adhesive behind my vellum, whether or not it's a piece like this that's colored and pre-printed, or if it's just plain vellum. And I know that that keeps a lot of people from using their vellum because, you know, they've probably tried snail, they've tried glue dots, you may have tried tear and tape, fast fuse, liquid glue, and what works? It's really hard. Well, I have a solution for you. And I did see this somewhere on YouTube or somewhere, and I am so sorry that I did not write down who did this because it's an amazing tip, and I would give the person credit if I could remember who it was, and I'm super sorry that I don't. But whoever you were, you're amazing. So what we're going to do is actually put the adhesive on the white piece that we're putting behind here. Actually, we can do both of them. We can put it on the balmy blue for this one, and we'll put it on white for this one. We are going to use a sponge and the multi-purpose liquid glue. Now you can use your silicone mat for this. What I like to do, just because I really hate throwing away these plastic bags. This one actually came off of the Graceful Glass Vellum, but these nice plastic bags are also found in a lot of the Stampin' Up! Products, our 6x6 paper stacks, our embossing folders, our framelits. They all seem to be wrapped up in these lovely bags. So I like to reuse them, and that's what I am going to use. And I know you're probably saying, well, but you should really use that silicone mat so that you can sell it. Well, you know, I also like to give you really good practical tips as well. So with this, what we would do is put down our cardstock, and I like to use the fat end and just put a blob of glue there and dip my sponge in it. Now what you're going to want to do is try to hold the cardstock fairly still, because once you start dabbing the glue, if it gets onto the plastic and then your cardstock moves, it's going to be a really gluey mess like everywhere. So just try to hold that cardstock pretty still. And you don't need a ton of glue in the center. It's really more around the edge, but you know, some everywhere. Okay, so now I've got glue on there. And I am going to grab my trimmer so that we can cut out this piece of vellum. And I should point out, you can see this border all the way around. Stampin' Up! Did offer this, or does offer this, as a 6x6. But since most cards are not 6x6 and most cards are not even 6 inches tall, they did the design so that you can cut them down, which is awesome. So that's what we'll be doing here. I'm going to be cutting it smaller than 6x6 so that it fits on my card. And I'm just following along with the lines. And on the one that's really colored in, I'm giving it a little border all the way around, like that. And then on this one where we left the center white, I'm actually going to trim off all of that extra little border part. Okie doke. So now we're ready to stick them on. So this one is going to go on the balmy blue so that it will end up looking like this. And then all you have to do is just line up a corner and an edge and then press, and you are not going to see any adhesive anywhere. And it just holds beautifully. You don't have to use a lot. You see that I did a fairly thin layer. So it's like a miracle. It's fabulous. And then since this piece is cut exactly the same size or close, I am going to just lay it right in the same little spot. Oh, sorry. That was kind of a rude noise. And we are going to just adhere the white one. And then what I'm also going to show you next is what happens if you do try to use other adhesives and how the adhesive will show right through the vellum, which you don't really want. So now this one, I think, if I remember how I cut it, I'm just going to pull it up off of this sticky page. So the blue border is hanging over the white, and that's fine because there we go. I'm just going to add it to a card. So how simple is that? Do you love that? I think it's awesome. I love it. Oh, good. A couple people think it's awesome. I do too. So then what I would do is I just keep this little gluey sponge in a bag. And let's see, this was actually from Sponge Daubers, but Stampin' Up! Does put a lot of their accessory items in little bags. So again, that was a little free bag. Now this, I'm just going to throw this away. I've used it one extra time, and I think that was marvelous to reuse something and not just throw it away right away. But I love that, and I love the difference of how that looks with a color under it versus white. So there we go. Oh, and I didn't mention, this is the beautiful garden trellis embossing folder in the background, and I really love how that looks. So on this one, I did all kind of the blues and purples and greens, and then on this one, I did more of a rainbow of the Stampin' Blends markers. One thing I wanted to point out is that with the blue behind the blues and the purples, it works because those are all sort of the same tone of color. If you were to put the blue behind one that's colored with like yellows and pinks and whatnot, it's not going to look as great because the colors, it's really going to change the color. So you kind of want to stick with that same sort of a color family, like the blues, if you're going to put the blue behind it. So I hope that makes sense. So what do you think? Really neat, huh? I love this. I think this is a lot of fun to see how those come together. So on this one, I was starting to color some of these with the Stampin Blends, and I just thought I would show you that difference of putting white behind it, Grapefruit Grove, which brings out the oranges and allows you to not have to color all those extra spots. How about Pineapple Punch? Look at that. Like that. Oh, I think that's a winner. What do you think? I really like that. I think that's pretty. We'll leave that one there. So now down here, I did the Bermuda Bay and the Rich Razzleberry. So let's look at if we put a piece of Bermuda Bay behind there. Beautiful, right? And again, I don't have to color in all those extra spots. But if we were to do a darker one like the Razzleberry, it really just dulls it. So the darker colors I don't think are as wonderful as the lighter colors. And then even if you went to something like a yellow, you could do that. It turns all that blue kind of green. So I don't think I would do that, but just showing you, I definitely wouldn't do that. Let's see what the grapefruit, yeah, no. So here, how about the white? And then the white just really makes it pop. So same idea, you would just get your sponge and your liquid glue and sponge the color on here, cut this out and put it on after you decide what color. I think I'm going to do that. I think I really like that. And I think I like that. Neat, huh? I think it's fun. Okay, so that was those squares. And then let's look at this piece. And just coloring, I didn't finish this one because I wanted to show you the difference of putting the other colors there. So just coloring in the flowers here, and you could use the white behind it, or you could do the blue so that it looks like the sky, or you could do the Pineapple Punch. So really interesting, right? To do the different colors behind there. Maybe the blue behind that one, or just the white. Yeah, so really interesting, depending on what colors you pick to put behind. So let's just take, I'm using this one as my tester, and I thought I would just see or show you what different coloring mediums we're doing. And again, I'm coloring on the back. I just like to color on the back. So this one was just the regular Stampin' Write marker, and all I did was just scribble color on there, and it dries really nicely. I mean, it looks great, I think. And then this next section was just the Stampin' Blend. And then I used colored pencils, the watercolor pencils, I should say. And what I found was you're really going to see the streaks. I don't think that I would highly recommend doing the pencils. You can, but I don't think it was absolutely the best. So then I thought, well, okay, if you do the pencil and then you do the blender pen, would that help? But that became rather streaky, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. It's okay, but it wouldn't be my first choice, definitely. And then on this one, I actually did the sponge dauber, and it took like 20 minutes to dry. So I'm not even going to do that because it's going to take forever to dry. But that was kind of crazy. But what I wanted to do was, I'm just going to color, since this is just a tester, I'm just going to color some sections here because I want to use a couple of other adhesives and just show you what happens and how you can see the different adhesive through here when you use, we're going to try the Fast Fuse and the snail and the Terran tape and the glue dots. And I'll just show you how you can see all of that adhesive right through there. One thing I do want to mention is on a stained glass design, no matter which one of these you're doing, the idea of stained glass is that every little section is a different color. And even though I'm using the Stampin Blends, my preference is not to try to actually blend several colors because that's not what stained glass is. Each one of these would be a different piece of colored glass, not blended glass colors. I hope that makes sense. So I am just basically coloring each little section in a different color. Oops, sorry, someone is texting me. Always happens. Oh dear. All right. So what we're going to do is just try some different adhesives on here. So we're going to put some snail. We're going to put some Fast Fuse. I'm going to put some, we'll just do this. See if the, oh, you know what? Because it's so slick, they're not even going to stick that way. So let's just apply some glue dots. And we'll see how it looks. And I think you're going to agree that the glue method with the multi-purpose glue is really a winner. All right, let's see. I think we can put some more on there. So let's just stick our tester piece down here. You know, I probably shouldn't have used so many different mediums on this. I probably should have gone with all the blends so that you can see the difference. Now, in person, I am seeing those stripes of adhesive through there. I'm not positive if it's picking it up on the camera, but I can see it, and I know that it looks so much smoother and seamless when you do it this way with absolutely, you know, no other glue showing through. So again, that was just the multi-purpose glue, a sponge, quarter of a sponge, and I was reusing the plastic bags. And you could use a, you know, a lid to Cool Whip. You can use your silicone mat. You can use whatever works for you for your plastic piece. So that's kind of what I had for you on that, and I hope that you enjoyed that. Again, I am going to be giving away one package of this Graceful Glass Vellum. So I think, let's see, let me see if I can just scroll back through some of the comments here. I'm just going to randomly stop on one of these, and you must be in the US, so you're going to have to tell me if you're in the US or not. So I'm just scrolling back and forth. And let's see. Cindy Harrington Caton, sorry. Are you in the US? If you are, Cindy Caton, let me know, comment, and I will be sending you the package of Graceful Glass Vellum. So let's see, just wait a minute and see if Cindy comments that she's in the US. I hope she's still on here. Cindy, are you still on here? Uh-oh. I wonder if she left. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your kind comments. Well, while I'm waiting a second to see if Cindy is still on here, one thing I did want to let you know is that if your Stampin Blends are starting to dry out a little bit, one thing that is great is that on the vellum, they seem to kind of rejuvenate and go a little farther. So I just wanted to give you that tip. If you have some of your Stampin Blends that start to get dry, try them on the vellum, because it's so slick that it colors really nicely. Oh, Rachel says she'd love to know which blends I used. Well, okay, so on this one, I used the Pool Party markers, and on all of them, I think it's light and dark. So Pool Party, Night of Navy, Calypso Coral, Daffodil Delight, and Old Olive on that. On this, it is the Night of Navy, Rich Razzleberry, and Old Olive. And then this one was just the, sorry, my mind just went blank. Cherry Cobbler and Old Olive. I don't know why. Could not even think for a minute. And this one is Cherry Cobbler, Pumpkin Pie, Daffodil Delight, Rich Razzleberry, Old Olive, Night of Navy, Pool Party around the whole thing. And then the Daffodil, Night of Navy, Pumpkin Pie, and Cherry Cobbler on there. And these I have on my blog. I have a whole post with several of these, and all the colors are listed, but it's basically almost all of the colors that we have right now. So let's see. Oh, okay, thank you, Kay. Kay says that Cindy is in the US and she will let her know. Kay, if you could have her private message me or email me at pattystamps@comcast.net. That would be fantastic, and I will get this prize off to her. All right, so thank you, everybody. Oh, I'm glad you liked the birds. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those tips, and I will see you next time for more tips on a different project. Have a great afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. Thank you. Bye-bye.